Lin Moyu once suspected that the lower space of the ancient battlefield is the cemetery of gods. It now appears that it is. The surviving gods did not return to the main world after the war, but chose to stay in the lower space. This is their own choice, a choice made to protect the main world. It can be regarded as a sacrifice. But even for gods, survival is an instinct. They choose to sleep, waiting for a hope. Perhaps this hope is very slim, and even thousands of years later, when they all die in a deep sleep, this hope will not be realized. Among the many gods, Kunlun God is a special case. The Kunlun God couple returned to the human world to sleep. Although they were absorbing the power of the world, they gave more feedback. The great god of Kunlun provided the human race with a large amount of weapons and equipment, and made great contributions to the human race. Treading the wings of the dead, Lin Moyu plunged into the Sea of Dragons and quickly found the palace of the water god. The water god palace remained unchanged, and water elements poured into the water god palace from the azure dragon sea. The water element is also mixed with some power of law, but it is not strong. The water element can only maintain the palace, but it cannot help the water god recover. If the gods want to recover, the best nutrition is the power of the world. Of course, it doesn't just have to be controlled by the power of the world. The water god is self-frozen in a huge ice cube, dignified, elegant and beautiful. The water god exudes a faint holy aura, making it impossible for people to feel profane. Lin Moyu waved a law of immortality and got into the ice, and with the law of immortality, there was also a force of the world. Now the power of the world is recovering, and if it is used a little bit, it will not have any impact on the world. The law of immortality carries a strong vitality. The effect is the same as the law of life, quickly igniting the vitality of the water god. Cooperating with the power of the world, the water god began to recover. The ice cubes melted, and the water god slowly fell to the ground. With a weak groan, the water god woke up again. Meet you again, you. The water god's eyes suddenly changed, and he burst into a dazzling smile. Congratulations, you have become the master of the world. In the exclamation, there was no jealousy. The character of the water god is as gentle as water, just like her godhead. Lin Moyu said, how do you feel now? The water god felt his own situation. Very good, your law is amazing, and it has restored my soul. Coupled with the power of this world, my godhead has been activated. I don't think I need to sleep any longer. The soul has been repaired, the godhead has been activated, and the injury of the water god has basically healed, so naturally there is no need to continue to sleep. Lin Moyu's idea is correct, and the method works. The law of immortality has two sides, one of which represents life, which is no less than the law of life. Lin Moyu laughed, it's fine, I want to revive the other gods, what do you think? The water god showed a gentle smile, you are the master of the world, shouldn't you be the master of this kind of thing? Suddenly her eyes rolled, and she smiled mischievously. Could it be that you still don't know the meaning of the Lord of the World? Lin Moyu was slightly taken aback. Does the Lord of the World have any special meaning? The water god smiled coquettishly. So you really don't know, then I have to think about it, whether I should tell you. Lin Moyu knew that the water god was joking with him. You should tell me. The water god giggled. Okay, actually, the Lord of the World has another meaning for our gods, that is, our master. When the water god said this, Lin Moyu understood. The gods were conceived from the world, and he became the master of the world, so he became the master of the gods. But judging from the meaning of the water god, it seems that he is not angry because he is inferior to others. Not only was the water god not unhappy, but he squinted his eyes. Unexpectedly, our master is actually a human race, and he is such a young human race. Lin Moyu smiled. So, I can make you guys. The water god blinked his beautiful big eyes. Of course you can, you are our master. Judging by her appearance, she seems to be serious. That being the case, then things will be easy to handle. Lin Moyu roughly talked about his thoughts with the water god. The water god pondered, no big problem, our gods can get along with your human race in harmony. Besides, the needs of our two parties are not the same, and there is no contradiction in interests. Lin Moyu said, okay, then I will resurrect all other gods. He has already figured out where to arrange the gods. After devouring the land of desolate beasts, the world became much bigger, with an extra continent. This continent is not small, more than 2 square kilometers in diameter. Lin Moyu intends to place the gods on this continent. There are not many gods, and this area is enough for life. If he sets some restrictions to isolate this continent from the world of the human race, there will be no major problems. Thinking about it and doing it, Lin Moyu started to revive other gods. The water god became the guide, and the water god knew all about the sleeping places of the other gods. With the water god leading the way, Lin Moyu saved a lot of time. In the sky of Meteorite Continent, there is a palace like a star. The god of starry sky sleeps in it. During the battle, the god of starry sky was seriously injured, and it is estimated that he will fall in a deep sleep in a few hundred years. Fortunately, Lin Moyu came and pulled him back from the death line with the law of immortality and the power of the world. Then in Fenglei Continent, he found the sleeping place of Fengshan. Lin Moyu once obtained the key of Fengshan and successfully opened the palace. In fact, it's okay for him not to use these props now. With his strength, the palace of the gods can't stop him at all. When treating Fengshan, Lin Moyu thought of Thor. It's a pity that Thor was too strong, and after losing hope, he resolutely decided to self-destruct. If it can last until now, maybe it can be saved. After the god of thunder and lightning self-destructed, he left behind the law god crystal, as well as her godhead and god position. Lin Moyu is going to try to use these three things to revive the god of thunder and lightning. Although there is little hope, it is not impossible, you can try it. In addition to the god of thunder and lightning, there is also the god of poison. The dead body of the poisonous god is still in his hands, as well as the godhead and godhead, so maybe he can give it a try. According to the water god, the poisonous god and the human race are not friendly, and there have been many conflicts. But when dealing with the invasion of wild beasts and zergs, the god of poison never took half a step back. Not a few zerg were poisoned to death by it. The gods were revived one by one, and Lin Moyu led them to run around. As the water god said, when he became the master of the world, he also became the master of the gods. These revived gods seem to be very obedient. Their memories are basically still at the moment when they fought side by side with the human race. And the human race is also extremely friendly. In the end, they came to the front of the maelstrom in the lower space. The water god said, "This is the sleeping place of the soul god." Back then, it was at the super god level like me, and it was also the god among us who was most likely to become the master of the world. Unfortunately, it failed in the end. But he is very powerful. After he fell into the realm like us, he practiced again and came back. In the end, although he failed to return to the peak, he became a great god again and killed many wild beasts. Great soul god, good at soul attack. No matter what level of battle the soul attack is in, it is a powerful existence. It has no palaces, nor does it need palaces. Anyone who dares to approach its sleeping place will be attacked by the soul. Once Lin Moyu came here and retreated despite the difficulties. This time, there were no scruples. Lin Moyu entered the maelstrom, and soul attacks came from all directions. All the powerful soul attacks were blocked by the soul world without causing any damage. Lin Moyu entered the maelstrom very smoothly, and met the soul god sleeping in it. The war has just started, and it has fallen from the super god level. In the war, he returned to the realm of the great god. This great god who is good at soul attacks does have something extraordinary. Lin Moyu used the old method to revive him. The whole process was smooth without any hassle. After waking up, the great soul god looked at Lin Moyu with some doubts. Then he asked in a hoarse voice, "The Lord of the World?" Lin Moyu nodded, "Let's go, your partner is waiting for you outside." The great soul god's gaze penetrated the vortex and saw a dozen gods outside. In the past, these were comrades who fought side by side, even brothers and sisters. The soul god took a deep look at Lin Moyu. "You are very good." The great soul god carried his own arrogance, but was not too humble. In fact, Lin Moyu doesn't need his humility, thank you for the compliment. Back outside, Lin Moyu looked at the gods, let's go home. Let's go home. This sentence made all the gods a little excited. The main world is their home, leaving home is like a child running away, with nowhere to go. Lin Moyu took out the dragon's scale. "Antares, I'm sorry for your trouble. This is not a human world, Lin Moyu has no ability to send so many gods back directly." Antares' voice sounded from the dragon's scales, "No problem." Hearing the voice of Antares, all the gods became excited again, and called out to your lord. None of them directly called Antares by his name, and all of them collectively called him an adult. The dragon's scales bloomed with light, and the form, energy, time and space were opened up, opening up the human world. The breath of the human world is continuously transmitted through the space-time channel. The gods got into the space-time channel in excitement. Back to the long-awaited main world, back to my own home. The gods shed tears one by one. Lin Moyu didn't stop there, and returned to his world. Everything was easy to handle. With a wave of his hand, he led the gods to the shrine on the top of Kunlun Mountain in an instant. This is the sleeping place of Kunlun, great god and god of holy music. God Kunlun sensed Lin Moyu immediately, and immediately showed his original shape. When he saw the many gods, he was stunned on the spot. With joyful smiles, the gods looked at the sluggish Kunlun, great god. They also seemed to be like this before. God Kunlun finally reacted and knew what happened. It was Lin Moyu who cured the gods, so he and his wife had hoped to be resurrected. A barren land that was once barren of grass. Now, after being integrated into the main world, after Lin Moyu's transformation, it has become a lush land. There are forests, lakes, mountains, and flowing water. There are scorching places with strong fire elements, and there are also huge halls with strong wind elements. This will also be the continent where the gods will live in the future, and Lin Moyu named it the Gods' Continent. Rise. With Lin Moyu's will, a mountain rose from the ground. This is not a human world. Lin Moyu has no ability to send so many gods back directly. Antares' voice sounded from the dragon's scales. No problem. Hearing the voice of Antares, all the gods became excited again, and called out to your lord. None of them directly called Antares by his name, and all of them collectively called him an adult. The dragon's scales bloomed with light, and the form, energy, time and space were opening up the human world. The breath of the human world is continuously transmitted through the space-time channel. The gods got into the space-time channel in excitement. Back to the long-awaited main world, back to my own home. The gods shed tears one by one. Lin Moyu didn't stop there, and returned to his world. Everything was easy to handle. With a wave of his hand, he led the gods to the shrine on the top of Kunlun Mountain in an instant. This is the sleeping place of Kunlun, great god and god of holy music. God Kunlun sensed Lin Moyu immediately, and immediately showed his original shape. When he saw the many gods, he was stunned on the spot. With joyful smiles, the gods looked at the sluggish Kunlun, great god. They also seemed to be like this before. God Kunlun finally reacted and knew what happened. It was Lin Moyu who cured the gods, so he and his wife had hoped to be resurrected. A barren land that was once barren of grass. Now, after being integrated into the main world, after Lin Moyu's transformation, it has become a lush land. There are forests, lakes, mountains, and flowing water. There are scorching places with strong fire elements, and there are also huge halls with strong wind elements. This will also be the continent where the gods will live in the future, and Lin Moyu named it the Gods' Continent. Rise. With Lin Moyu's will, a mountain rose from the ground. On the mountain, born out of thin air, a series of thunderbolts continued to fall on the high mountain, and in an instant, the electric element here became very strong. Lin Moyu took out the god of thunder and lightning's godhead and god's table, and the remaining law crystals, and put them together. Then inject several strands of world power, wrap it with the law of immortality, and send it into the mountain. There may be some will left behind by the god of thunder and lightning in the godhead. Perhaps in the future, using his own laws and the power of the world, the god of thunder and lightning will still have a chance to recover. In order to allow the god of thunder to seize this slim possibility, Lin Moyu also created an environment full of electro-optic elements for the god of thunder. It sounds a bit slim, but until now, we can only try. Even if he is the master of the world, he cannot completely control life and death. Otherwise, there would be no need for Ning Yi and the others to enter the sleeping coffin for the future. Finally, restrictions were set to protect this area so that other gods or creatures would not enter it by mistake. Then, according to the law, Lin Moyu created the same environment for the god of poison and the god of life. The god of life has no godhead, so he can only use the scepter of creation in his hand. According to the god of life, as long as the core of life is still there, she has a chance to be resurrected. The core of life has been repaired. As to whether it can really be as she said, it will take time to verify. After doing all this, Lin Moyu completely isolated the continent of the gods from the world of the human race, so that there would be no conflict between the two sides. It seems that the Great War of the past has really come to an end. The sequelae left behind will gradually recover over time. In the creation seminary, an aura belonging to super gods broke through the cave. Dai Huang finally succeeded in breaking through and became the second super god of the human race after Lin Moyu. His breakthrough is good news for Lin Moyu. Dai Huang has no plans to leave the world. With him in charge of the world, there will be no major disturbances. The movement of Dai Huang's breakthrough immediately attracted the attention of the experts in the creation seminary. Then the news spread, and soon a large number of strong human races gathered in front of the cave where Dai Huang retreated. Congratulations, Senior Dai Huang, for becoming a super god. Dai Huang was very happy with a smile on his face. Breaking through to super god, he looks decades younger. Half-step super gods can normally live for more than 200 years, but they can't live for more than 300 years if they are exhausted, but the lifespan of super gods starts at 500 years. Dai Huang was originally over 150 years old, and he was no longer young for a half-step super god. But for super gods, they are in their prime. Aijin congratulated. Dai Huang was very happy. You don't have to be so polite, I'm just lucky. Senior, Lu is too modest. A voice came loudly. Lin Moyu did not know when he appeared in the field, and also congratulated Dai Huang. Congratulations, Senior, for breaking through the super god. Dai Huang immediately returned the salute with cupped fists. This old man can break through to super god, thanks to my little friend. Lin Moyu laughed. This is due to the hard work of the seniors, and has little to do with the juniors. Dai Huang was even more polite. This old man has one thing to say, and the one who has mastered it is a teacher, but my little friend has achieved super gods one step earlier than the old man. According to the etiquette, I should call you senior. The crowd was in an uproar, and only then did they know that Lin Moyu had broken through to super god. One step earlier than Emperor Dai. The eyes of Meng Anwen and the three showed surprise. The three of them knew that Lin Moyu could break through to the super god level, but they didn't expect it to be so fast. As for others, they have long been too shocked to speak. What kind of genius does this have to be to break through to the super god level at the age of less than 30? Lin Moyu's genius is beyond human reach. When you can't catch up, there will be no jealousy, and only envy will remain. After congratulating him, Lin Moyu called Dai Huang, Meng Anwen, Bai Yiyuan and Yan Quangsheng together. Senior Dai Huang, teacher, I have to go. There are some things on the road of starlight that cannot be told to others. But there are some things that must be told to others. It is inconvenient to tell the world about Lin Moyu's imminent departure. But Meng Anwen and the others must know. In Lin Moyu's heart, they are his relatives. Moreover, Lin Moyu and Meng Anwen also mentioned the matter of the sleeping coffin, and none of the three of them planned to leave. For this reason, Lin Moyu respected their choices, and when he became the master of the world, he put part of the power of the world on them. In this way, they may have a chance to break through to the super god level. If it doesn't work out, the two sides will meet again sometime. As for Dai Huang, after he leaves, Dai Huang will become the strongest in the human world. No matter what happens in the future, Dai Huang will be like a pinnacle of Dinghai. The three of Meng Anwen looked at Lin Moyu, speechless for a long time. Lin Moyu saw reluctance in their eyes. It's like your own child is about to travel far. Even though Bai Yiyuan already has his own child, in his eyes, Lin Moyu is also his own child. Bai Yiyuan and Yan Quangsheng, two old fellows, had moist eye sockets. Dai Huang snorted, you two together are 200 years old, don't be such a mother-in-law. Only by leaving this world can one climb to a higher place. Do you think I don't want to leave? I don't have the ability to leave, I'm afraid of death. If you have the ability, you can also cultivate to the third level of super gods, and leave this world. Dai Huang taught them as if he was teaching his juniors. 70 or 80 years ago, Emperor Dai taught them this way. Meng Anwen looked at Lin Moyu and said softly, be careful. All the words are integrated in these 4 words. When they returned to their manor, Ning Yi and the others hadn't returned yet, and the manor was empty. The few servants inside also left the manor a few days ago. Lin Moyu recalled by himself, recalling all kinds of experiences since he changed his job less than 10 years ago. It feels like a dream bubble, but it is extremely real. Scenes of things flashed in front of my eyes with incomparable clarity. Lin Moyu seems to have re-experienced a life that only belongs to him. The breath is also changing in the memory, and it seems to become silent again. In fact, Lin Moyu only talks more when facing Antares, Ning Yi, Meng Anwen and others. Facing others, as the name suggests, they are silent. Lin Moyu didn't wake up from his acceleration until the sound of footsteps. The four of Ning Yi came back, and they walked together as if they had agreed. At this time, there are still 5 days before Lin Moyu's departure time. Lin Moyu spent another 5 tender days. I don't know how long it will be like this again in the future. 5 days later, the four of them gathered around Lin Moyu, with deep reluctance in their eyes. Ning Yi's tears fell uncontrollably, her delicate nose twitched constantly. The same goes for the other 3. In the past few years, the relationship between the few people has been very deep. The parting is imminent, and I am very sad. Lin Moyu wiped away tears for several people. You don't need to shed tears, just sleep, and when you wake up, we don't have to separate. Entering the coffin of sleep, several people will fall into the deepest sleep until they are awakened again by Lin Moyu. For the four of Ning Yi, it was as simple as falling asleep. Even for tens of millions of years, it is just a flick of a finger, a dream for thousands of years. I know, but I still can't help but want to cry. Ning Yi's voice was choked up, and her little heart felt very uncomfortable. Shu Han whispered in Lin Moyu's ear, "The big world is very dangerous, my husband must be careful in everything." Mo Yun and Xian Mumu hugged Lin Moyu from left to right, and also urged, "You must be careful when you do things. Don't worry, you all have a good sleep, and wait for my husband to wake you up." Lin Moyu's every word is powerful, and this word is a promise. After being tender for a while, it was finally time to part. Lin Moyu took out the coffin of sleep. The soul force rolled, activating the sleeping coffin. There is a world in the sleeping coffin, and the time and space of this world are all static. Those who enter it will fall into a coma. The four did not resist and were directly included in it. Lin Moyu could sense that in the sleeping coffin, the four of them had already passed out. Take the sleeping coffin into the soul world and place it in front of your own soul body. Sighing lightly, Lin Moyu left the manor. A mighty force descended from the sky and enveloped the manor. The power of the world has surrounded the manor, and no one can enter without Lin Moyu's permission. Even if it is the 9th level of the super god, don't even think about entering it. He is the master of the world, and he has the final say in this world. Lin Moyu took out the dragon scale and opened the space-time channel. After taking a last look at the human world, he turned and walked into the space-time channel. The ancient battlefield, the lower space. Lin Moyu came to the ancient city of Shengxia. The ancient city of Shengxia is actually the god-killing fortress, a relatively famous weapon of war in the big world. The god-killing fortress is fully activated, and it can kill the strong in the realm of true gods, and its power is extraordinary. Falling here for 1,000 years is really overkill. If it was in the past, its existence could still become the base of the human race in the lower space. Now that the Dragon Clan and the Abyssal Demons have all perished, the role of the ancient city of Shengxia has been greatly weakened. Asking for flowers. After Lin Moyu arrived, Galei Tower appeared in his hand. The inner and outer towers communicate. Lin Moyu's power enters the outer tower, and the outer tower controls the inner tower. In the blink of an eye, Lin Moyu controls the entire god-killing fortress in his hands. Power continued to pour into it, and the god punishment fortress began to vibrate violently. Then, the people who were in the city suddenly appeared outside the city. Under the shocked eyes of everyone, the god of execution fortress rose from the ground. The Galei Tower rises from the fortress, and the god-killing fortress changes shape in the air and shrinks rapidly. The entire Shenshan fortress finally turned into a tower shape with a height of only 10 meters and a width of only 5 meters, exactly the same as the Galei Tower. In the next second, a space-time channel appeared at the tip of the god-killing fortress, and the god-killing fortress turned into a streamer, entered the space-time energy channel, and disappeared. Everyone was stunned, and the ancient city of Shengxia, which had been erected for thousands of years on this land, just flew away. A city becomes a tower and flies away. If this is said, who will believe it? Hey, what's the matter? It's incredible how the ancient city of Shengxia flew away. Weird things happen every year, especially this year. What a ghost. Everyone talked about it, but they couldn't get the correct answer at all. Lin Moyu stood in the tower, driving Guleta through the space, and flew towards the place where Antares was. With Lin Moyu's current strength, he still can't unleash the full power of the god-killing fortress, but it's enough to just use it for traveling. The god-killing fortress turned into a tower has the ability to travel through space, which is very easy to use. Lin Moyu, as the master of Jushan Fortress, is very convenient to operate, just moving his head is enough. In the blink of an eye, the God Execution Fortress has arrived at the upper space, flying towards Antares at an astonishing speed. At present, the speed seems to be faster than my full undead wings. It only takes a little power to achieve amazing speed. This is only in the small world, where the God-killing fortress can really display its speed. It still needs the big world. Lin Moyu evaluated the comparison in his heart. Although undead wings is fast, it needs to consume soul power. Soul power is not endless. If you can save it, you can save it. The God-punishing fortress does not need it. It can absorb the energy it needs from the space. As long as it's not a big war, and it's just used to hurry, the power it draws is enough to support it. 10 seconds later, the fortress of punishing God came to where Antares was. Lin Moyu showed his figure, and at the same time put away the God-killing fortress. Weapons of war like the fortress of punishing gods are extremely high level, so they can collect souls when they are not needed. I gotta go. Lin Moyu and Antares stared at each other. From Antares' eyes, Lin Moyu also saw reluctance. I don't have many friends, but Antares is one, and the most important one. Antares has fewer friends, only Lin Moyu. Although Antares was reluctant, he didn't say that in his mouth. Get out, I can sleep well even if you get out. Lin Moyu smiled slightly. How long will you have? Antares said, it's coming soon, another 1 or 200 years will be almost there. Lin Moyu nodded, come find me when the time comes. When the time comes, you can't be too weak. I also want to save face. With such a weak friend, it would be embarrassing to say it. Antares said in a muffled voice, shaking his head. Lin Moyu stretched out his hand and patted Antares on the head twice. Don't worry, I won't disappoint you. I will give you one more chance before leaving. Kill me once, I'm afraid you won't have the chance in the future. Antares laughed, and sprayed a fiery dragon's breath on Lin Moyu. The space-time channel opened, and Lin Moyu was directly sprayed into the deep space by the dragon's breath. Lin Moyu was surrounded by dragon's breath, and the purple color of his talent had not faded completely. Antares used the power of the 6th level of the true god this time, directly causing the undead to collapse 5 times in a row, and then activated Lin Moyu's talent. After Lin Moyu stepped into a super god, only using the power of the 5th level of the true god is not enough for Lin Moyu to stimulate his talent. At least the 6th level of the true god is enough. Lin Moyu understood that Antares was telling himself not to take it lightly. At the same time, tell yourself where your limit is. The 6th level of the true god can kill himself with 2 hits. If you change to the 5th order true god, you need 3 hits. This blow was Antares' final gift. Lin Moyu unfolded his undead wings, vibrating his wings, and rushed towards the ancient Starlight Road like lightning. A few minutes later, Lin Moyu arrived in front of the Starlight Ancient Road. The swamp is still there, but there are no more swamp monitor lizards in it. The deep space has its own rules, and the monsters who die in it will be reborn after a period of time, which is somewhat similar to the rules of the human world, but they are independent of each other. The swamp monitor lizard will also respawn after a while. From a distance, Lin Moyu saw Lillian. Lillian stood in front of the Starlight Ancient Road, and seemed to be confronting the gatekeeper puppet. Lillian didn't feel any pain, and the gatekeeper puppet held a sword in his hand, and didn't make any further moves, just being on guard. Seeing Lin Moyu's breath, Lillian's frown gradually loosened, and a faint smile appeared on her cold face. You are finally here. One sentence, you are finally here, as if you are a couple who have been waiting for a long time. Coupled with Lillian's beautiful face, it is easy to misunderstand. Lin Moyu showed no expression. When he came to Lillian, he didn't speak, but hummed lightly as an answer. At this moment, he seemed to have returned to the past and became the person who didn't like to talk. The wives fell asleep, said goodbye to relatives and friends, and were about to go to a strange place. Lin Moyu was a little lonely, and his breath was a little low. On the contrary, Lillian, because she is about to enter the big world, the sky is high, and she looks extremely relaxed. There was a smile on his usually cold and heartless face at this time. As for the puppet guarding the gate, she wasn't worried at all. Lin Moyu cupped his fists at the puppet. Senior, we want to enter the Starlight Ancient Path. The golem said, you can go in, but she can't. Lillian stared at the puppet and sneered, can you stop me? The puppet laughed, you can try. It has been guarding the Starlight Ancient Road for countless years, and a little guy like Lillian, who is only a super god, wants to break in, simply to give away his head. Looking at Lin Moyu again, he is only at the 1st level of super god. The puppet said, I told you before, if you don't reach the third level of Super God, don't go to the ancient starry sky road to die. What did Lillian want to say? Lin Moyu glanced at Lillian and signaled her not to speak. Lillian glanced back at Lin Moyu, meaning to save face this time. Lin Moyu said, thank you senior for reminding us, we should be fine. The puppet said, I just kindly remind you, not to stop you. If you must go in and die, you can do whatever you want. As for her, she is not a native creature. According to regulations, she cannot enter unless. Lin Moyu asked, unless what? Unless you can defeat me. Have you seen the ancient starry sky road behind me? There is no way to the ancient road. No matter what method you use, as long as you can get in, I will not stop you. The puppet pointed behind it, and there was indeed a road made of starlight behind it. The mouth is not big, being puppet. The puppet only guards the gate, as long as it can enter it, it is not his control. The current situation is very clear, either defeat it, or kill it, and then retreat, don't force it. Lin Moyu doesn't know the strength of the puppet, but if people from the previous era can break through, Lin Moyu believes that he is fine. The cooperation between him and Lillian is not completely over yet, and sending Lillian to the Starlight Ancient Path is also part of the cooperation. Lin Moyu will not break his promise, he will do what he says. Senior, offended. Lin Moyu gave a light drink, his hands shone slightly. The law of immortality came out at the sound and flew towards the puppet. Laws also rose from the skeleton body, covering it. The whole body of the puppet emits copper-colored light, slightly dark red. It's useless, this puppet uses the law of copper and iron, and its whole body is extremely hard, enough to block the attack of the 5th order super god. You super god level little guy. The voice fell, and the puppet suddenly let out a strange cry. Lin Moyu's law of immortality has come to the puppet, and the copper-colored light on the puppet's body changes rapidly. The copper body, which was originally as bright as gold, instantly becomes dim. In the blink of an eye, the skin of the copper body began to rot. The outer shell rotted, exposing the inner structure. With a copper body and iron bones, combined with the copper and iron law, the puppet is indeed very strong in defense. Unfortunately, his law happened to meet Lin Moyu's law of immortality. The law of immortality expresses the side of death, and all things will fall into dead silence. The copper skin of the puppet was quickly rotted, and the iron bones inside also suffered. The puppet roared loudly, what kind of law are you? Why are you so powerful? You are not the first order super god, you are definitely not. The puppet screamed in disbelief. It swung its sword, and swung 0.400 meters of sword energy towards Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu's speed was so fast that the undead wings flapped away and moved away. Lillian even took a step to the side lightly, and appeared 100 meters away in an instant. The puppet still blocked the door and did not let go. Senior, this junior has started. Lin Moyu tapped his finger lightly. Fusion spell, curse of time. The puppet trembled slightly, but did not scream. It is a puppet, and its soul is also made by a special method, and it does not feel pain. But what Lin Moyu wanted was not the puppet's screams. It turned out to be a soul attack, useless, useless. The law of time around the puppet changed, and the time quickly accelerated many times. Under the effect of time acceleration, the law of immortality became more powerful, and quickly rotted one big hole after another in the puppet's body. Impossible, what's going on here, what kind of law is yours? There was a hint of panic in its voice. Lin Moyu knew that the puppet could not recognize the law of time. The law of time is too high-end, it belongs to the top law, not a rotten street stuff. Antares can recognize it, and the starry sky giant tree can recognize it, but it doesn't mean that others can also recognize it. The strength of the puppet is only super god level, but it is made of special materials and is very strong. Even the 9th level of super gods cannot cause damage to it. So it is very proud. Jian is not afraid of anything. But now, the law of immortality has destroyed its solid shell and shattered its pride. It became panicked and bewildered. Lin Moyu didn't make further moves, but said lightly, Senior, can you get out of the way now? Lin Moyu could see that the material of the puppet was really special, and it seemed to have the property of self-healing. If you don't hurt now, you may be able to recover after a while. Lin Moyu didn't do anything to the extreme, and stayed on the line. Puppets are intelligent, think, and have self-awareness. As long as you have self-awareness, you don't want to face death. It's not that you're afraid of death. If you have a choice, you must choose to live. The puppet murmured, I'm just a puppet, and I'm just a gatekeeper. As he said that, he stepped aside without hesitation and made way for the exit. Lin Moyu also withdrew his hands at this time. Without the corrosion of the law of immortality, the wounds on the puppet began to gradually recover. The puppet looked at Lin Moyu. You were better than those guys from the previous era. It failed to make a move from the beginning to the end, and was suppressed by Lin Moyu the whole time, and the sword in his hand became a decoration. Compared with the guys from the previous era, Lin Moyu looked even more terrifying. Lin Moyu smiled slightly. Thank you for the compliment. Is it better than the professionals of the previous era? Lin Moyu knows it well, and it is indeed the case. He is not conceited. The people of the previous era did not become the master of the world. And in the last era, they did some bad things, making their era miserable. If you encounter it after going out, you must ask clearly. Starlight Ancient Road, as its name suggests, is really intertwined with starlight. Tens of thousands of starlights from the big world flew over, interweaving to form a splendid passage. Lin Moyu can feel the great power from the big world in the channel. This is an indescribable force, magnificent and majestic. Being in it makes people feel small. Behind Lin Moyu, a pair of beautiful eyes gleamed, a little complicated. Lillian had previously thought that Lin Moyu would have a good fight with the goalkeeper puppet. Unexpectedly, it would be like this. Lin Moyu used a method that she couldn't understand to get rid of the gatekeeper puppet. It should be said that the goalkeeper puppet retreats and admits defeat automatically. She could see that Lin Moyu was actually quite capable of killing the gatekeeper puppet, but he had a sense of propriety and didn't do so. It shouldn't be difficult to kill the gatekeeper puppet and kill himself. Lillian has completely lost sight of Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu felt Lillian's gaze. Is there any problem? Lillian closed her gaze, and turned to Starlight Ancient Road. Here is full of stars of all colors, colorful and beautiful fields. She also felt a sense of smallness. Lillian said softly, we have already entered the scope of the big world. You should feel the breath of the big world and feel your own insignificance. Lin Moyu hummed, indeed. The breath of the big world is still very weak, but the feeling of smallness is very strong. This strong, near Lin Moyu has a sense of discomfort. Lillian said softly, no matter who it is, as long as it can reach the super god, the strong who step into the big world from the small world are very conceited. So when they step into the big world will give them a note of Mway. Let them know that they are small, insignificant, and be in awe of the big world. Lin Moyu stopped, turned his head and glanced at Lillian. How do you know? Lillian is obviously the same as herself. She has just entered the ancient starry sky road and has not really entered the big world. How could she know this? Lillian said in a deep voice, of course I have a way to know. This is not within the scope of our cooperation. I don't need to tell you. Lin Moyu knew that there must be many secrets about Lillian, but Lillian didn't say anything, and it was impossible for him to ask. The two are just a simple cooperative relationship, and Lin Moyu doesn't even care about Lillian's life or death. He's just doing what he promised to do now. As for what will happen in the future, whether Lillian will be killed as soon as she goes out, he doesn't care. The two fell silent again, and Lin Moyu continued to move forward without saying a word. The Starlight Trail is very long. Lin Moyu walked for half a day without reaching the end. The puppet once said that the ancient Starlight Road is not safe, and only those who have reached the third level of the super god can pass it with confidence. But they walked for a long time without any danger. In front of the eyes, there is nothing to see except the colorful starlight. Faintly, there was a sense of depression. As soon as this sense of depression appeared, it began to grow uncontrollably. The mood began to become dull. Starlight Ancient Road is extremely quiet, but the quieter it is, the more disturbed it is. All kinds of bad thoughts flooded into his heart. Lin Moyu wanted to vent, and vented all the boredom in his heart. In the next second, Lin Moyu realized something was wrong. Thunder flashed in the eyes, the soul world suddenly roared, and the 9-colored dragon's soul crystal uttered a loud and clear dragon chant, and the irritability was swept away. Thoughts regained clarity. Lin Xiu felt a moment of fear. Unknowingly, I got the Tao and was affected. This method is extremely clever. Looking at Lillian again, at this time Lillian's eyes were shining red, obviously affected. She seemed to be suppressing the restlessness in her heart, clenched her fists tightly, and her delicate body was trembling. Judging from her performance, she can realize that something is wrong with her, but she just can't control it. Do not move. As soon as Lin Moyu pointed at Lillian's eyebrows, an infinite force invaded Lillian's soul world. Lillian only felt a tingling pain in her soul, and then a dragon chant sounded in her soul. The delicate body trembled violently, and all the irritability was swept away. The red light in both eyes subsided and returned to normal. Lillian let out a long sigh of relief. Thank you. Lin Moyu smiled slightly. I haven't sent you out yet. I will guarantee your safety. It means that the cooperation is not over yet. Lin Moyu will not watch her die. Lillian asked, is this the method Master Antares taught you? Lin Moyu didn't answer. You have secrets, and so do I. It is impossible for Lin Moyu to tell her about the Jukelonghenjing. Lillian was also sensible and didn't ask any more questions. This is the first hurdle, and the two have already passed it. Lin Moyu thought about what happened before. The invisible law can affect the soul and confuse the mind. The first level of Super God is very difficult to resist. If the third level of Super God, it will be much better. Although it will still be affected, as long as you realize it, you can slowly eliminate the influence. If he didn't have the 9-colored dragon soul crystal just now, he would be able to eliminate the influence on his soul. It's just a little troublesome. It's difficult for Lillian. Maybe she also has corresponding means. Lin Moyu doesn't bother to understand. After walking for a while, countless light spots suddenly appeared in front of my eyes. Dots of light filled the entire channel, rapidly magnifying in front of my eyes. The light spot was like a heavy punch, hitting it hard. Starlight turned into countless fists and flew towards them, densely covering the entire passage, making it impossible to avoid. Is this the second test of the Starlight Ancient Path? Lin Moyu could feel that the strength of the fist was not strong, that is, the level of the second-order Super God. If it is the third level of Super God, it will not be too difficult to deal with it. But if it is the first level of Super God, it will be dangerous. Then connect with the invisible law that just affected the mind. If he couldn't recover, he might rush up now and fight these fists for 300 rounds. The result is very likely to be death from exhaustion. Lin Moyu noticed Lillian's face, and said softly, stand behind me. Lillian stood behind Lin Moyu without any hesitation. Based on her understanding of Lin Moyu, as long as Lin Moyu says it, it will definitely be done. Lin Moyu faced the fist directly and continued to walk forward. In Lillian's surprised eyes, the fist landed on Lin Moyu's body, but it was like a mud cow entering the sea, without any effect. A faint white light shone on Lin Moyu's body. The inconspicuous white light blocked all attacks. Lillian's eyes widened. Lin Moyu's spells were so weird that she couldn't understand them. But it is undeniable that all of Lin Moyu's spells are very strong. In Lillian's shock, Lin Moyu continued to move forward without stopping. The starlight changed again, turning into countless swords and flying towards them. The attack power also became stronger and stronger, and began to approach the third level of Super God. After reaching the Super God level, the attack power will vary a lot every time one level is raised. Even if it is also the second level of Super God, the strength will be much different between those who have just become the second level of Super God, and those who have already reached the peak of the second level of Super God. The span of power is getting wider and wider. But no matter how strong the starlight becomes, to Lin Moyu, it is like scratching an itch. Not to mention the second level of Super God, even the fifth and sixth level of Super God, Lin Moyu doesn't care. Lin Moyu's body became a shield, blocking all attacks. At this moment, Lin Moyu yipping in Lillian's eyes became taller. His back seemed to be a high wall that could shelter him from wind and rain. There were some subtle changes in the way Lillian looked at Lin Moyu. This change was not even noticed by Lillian herself. Finally, all attacks disappeared. Lin Moyu saw the exit of the Starlight Trail. An incomparably gorgeous wall of light and shadow. As long as you pass through this wall, you will truly enter the big world. In the Starlight Ancient Road, although I can already feel the power from the Great World, I still haven't really entered the Great World. Lin Moyu stopped before the exit. Leave here, and our cooperation is over. Hearing this sentence, Lillian's heart was inexplicably empty, and she was slightly disappointed. But she quickly reacted, erased the emotions she shouldn't have, and said in her cold voice, the big world is dangerous, I hope we will meet again. Lin Moyu smiled, I can understand your words as a blessing. Whatever you think, get out of the way, let me go out first. Lillian frowned and glared at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu gave up the passage, it doesn't matter who goes out first. A ball of light appeared in Lillian's hands, and the center of this ball of light was a miniature palace. The palace was enveloped in green flames. The Demon Emperor's palace. Lin Moyu was surprised. No wonder the news came that the Demon Emperor had disappeared, and even the Demon Emperor's palace was gone. I didn't expect that the Demon Emperor's palace could be reduced and taken away. Obviously, this palace is also a high-grade utensil. Lillian held the Demon Palace in her hand and left the Starlight Ancient Path. Lin Moyu also walked out. The screen changed, and when I left the passage, I felt several powerful auras. The strong coercion is spreading wantonly, and every breath is a strong man. Lin Moyu's heart tightened. He didn't expect that there would be so many strong people outside the Starlight Ancient Road. Then he saw with his own eyes that Lillian went straight into the Demon Emperor's palace. The Demon Emperor's palace flickered like a star, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. I guessed it a long time ago. Lillian must have planned it long ago. Now it seems that is the case. Less than half a second after leaving the Starlight Ancient Road, Lillian disappeared without a trace. Lillian's movements were so fast that even the strong men outside the Starlight Ancient Path didn't have time to react. Lillian left with her front foot, and a huge coercion fell from the sky with her back foot, landing on Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu felt his whole body sink, and his thinking slowed down for a moment. It's been put together. Lin Moyu thought, no wonder Lillian wanted to come out before him. Lin Moyu didn't care about the coercion that fell on him. Although very strong, but the strongest is only the first and second level of the true God. If he wants to go, these guys can't stop him. Looking over, he finally saw the environment clearly. In the boundless starry sky, bright starlight shoots from all directions. Behind him is a cloud of fog. The Starlight Ancient Road has long since disappeared, and within this fog is his original world. His own world is hidden in the mist, protected by the laws of the Great World, and appears to be very safe. He saw many strong men, from all races, standing in the starry sky, standing upright. Lin Moyu could tell that most of these powerhouses were true gods, but they were not very strong. They were all the first and second ranks of true gods. Behind these true gods, there are still some super god-level powerhouses, who are obviously the descendants of these true gods. They all looked at themselves with strange eyes, as if they were very interested in themselves. Stared at by strong men of at least a dozen races, Lin Moyu felt uncomfortable. At this time, the brilliant starlight of the big world shone, and Lin Moyu felt his soul world suddenly vibrate. The giant talent tree that had not moved for a long time suddenly began to grow. Backquote, the baptism of the law of the big world. Antares once said that entering the big world from a small world will experience a baptism of the laws of the big world. Talents are enhanced in baptism. This is an excellent opportunity to greatly improve your strength. There is even a chance to let the soul go one step further, from the third rank to the fourth rank. Lin Moyu's soul has already touched the boundary between the third and fourth ranks, and it is very possible to break through in the baptism. But in the next second, another powerful force fell, blocking the starlight, and all changes came to an abrupt end. A strong man. At least a strong man at the level of a god king. Lin Moyu was secretly startled. The laws of the great world cannot be easily blocked. Those who have the ability to do this are at least at the level of god kings, and may even be gods. This force enveloped him, and his keen soul told Lin Moyu that the other party had no malicious intentions. So Lin Moyu didn't resist. With the arrival of this force, there is also a clear voice of the soul, who dares to bully my descendants of the human race. Lin Moyu recognized this voice, and it was the woman she saw at the core of the world. Looking at it, it was indeed her. The beautiful figure came like a fairy stepping on the starlight. In front of her, there is another stalwart existence judge. Lin Moyu could tell at a glance that this was a deity, an existence as powerful as the sword orchid deity. It was this deity who made a move to isolate himself from the baptism of the law of the great world. As soon as it comes, it will be safe. Lin Moyu didn't make a sound, but just watched quietly. After they arrived and the woman uttered her voice, all the coercion that fell on him receded like a mouse seeing a cat. Lin Moyu finds it funny. It turns out that the strong in the big world also bully the weak and fear the strong. Whoever has the biggest fist is right. This rule still applies in the big world. What about the human race? This is not your territory. The deep voice of the soul sounded, and the terrifying power swept across the starry sky. Lin Moyu saw a burly guy with bull horns on his head, who was 6 to 7 points similar to a human race. Don't know what race it is, but it looks a bit like half man, half bull. With ferocious eyes, Lin Moyu met his gaze, as if seeing a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. This is also a werewolf who came out all the way. The human deity came to Lin Moyu, standing between Lin Moyu and the bullhead deity. His eyes were extremely stern, and his whole body exuded a dangerous aura, and he didn't back down at all. Then you can try. Behind him, the law is rolling, transforming into various weapons. It seemed that a shocking blow would strike at any time. The atmosphere became extremely oppressive in an instant. Back. The complexions of the true god powerhouses of various races changed drastically, and they retreated hastily. If the gods and powerhouses fight, they will all be affected, and life and death are unpredictable. The bull-headed god's gaze was also dangerous, his fists were clenched tightly, and the law on his fists continued to roar. The human woman who had a relationship with Lin Moyu said softly, "Don't be afraid, Master can protect you." Lin Moyu didn't speak, and looked like he was frightened. A mere super god, facing the god, it would be strange not to be intimidated. Lin Moyu's performance fell into the eyes of others, and it couldn't be more normal than. After the two sides confronted each other for more than 10 seconds, the bull-headed god suddenly let go of his fist and slowly retreated. He backed down. It was quite fierce just now, but now you are submissive. Lin Moyu was slightly shocked. At this moment, he saw the strength of the human race in the big world. As Antares said, in the big world, the human race is also a strong race, no worse than any other race. Now it seems that this is really the case. After retreating 100 meters, the bull-headed god heard the voice of the soul. "Since the little guy from your human race came out, let you take it away." This can be regarded as a step down for himself. The gods always want to save face. Lin Moyu can understand. "Let's go." The human god snarled, rolled up Lin Moyu with a wave of his big hand, and left in a hurry. After flying tens of thousands of miles, the human god stopped and threw a ball of light in his hand. The light cluster exploded in the starry sky, turning into a flying boat about 20 meters long. The three of them entered the flying boat, and the flying boat instantly turned into a stream of light and disappeared. The flying boat sailed rapidly in the starry sky, and the speed was far faster than the wings of the undead. But even so fast, from inside the spaceship, the changes of the stars outside are still slow. It's like it hasn't moved much. Lin Moyu couldn't help sighing in his heart. The big world is indeed a big world, and it really is completely different from the small world. The grandeur of the big world is far beyond my imagination. Lin Moyu looked at the starry sky outside through the window of the flying boat. The flying boat was far away from the small world, and the dense fog representing the small world had disappeared from sight. After bidding farewell to his hometown, Lin Moyu had some regret in his eyes, and his mood was extremely complicated. A scent of elegant tea floated into his nostrils, and Lin Moyu's spirit was shaken. The human gods are sitting on the tea table, and the woman is making tea. "Little friend, come and have a cup of tea." The deity has a very kind attitude, like a kind old man, without any airs. It's completely different from the domineering appearance just now, as if it's a different person. The contrast between before and after is a bit big. Lin Moyu smelled the aroma of tea, and thought of the scenes in Beishan's small courtyard. "I don't know if there will be a chance to meet my teacher again in the future." Seeing that Lin Moyu didn't move, the woman thought Lin Moyu was too nervous. "Don't be nervous, Master is easy to talk to." The god also thought that Lin Moyu was nervous. "My little friend may not be used to it when he first entered the big world, but it's okay, and he will gradually get used to it." The woman is pouring tea. Her side face looks very delicate. Lin Moyu could tell that she was very attentive. It's not like pouring tea casually, and it's not just out of respect, but it's really dedicated, as if it's a kind of practice. The woman not only poured tea for the deity, but also poured a cup for Lin Moyu. "Come and drink some." She thought that Lin Moyu hadn't fully adjusted to it yet, so her cold voice softened 3 points. "My name is Gu Qingxuan, what's your name?" Lin Moyu walked to the edge of the tea table and bowed to the gods and Gu Qingxuan, Junior Lin Moyu. "I have seen the gods and Gu." In the eyes of the gods and Gu Qingxuan, Lin Moyu just now it's slowed down. They have seen this kind of situation a lot, so they don't think it is so strange. The deity smiled. "My name is Night Breeze." Gu Qingxuan smiled slightly. "You don't need to be so restrained, but it's normal for you to be like this now, and you'll know later." Lin Moyu got used to it a long time ago, but he didn't speak much, which made others misunderstand. Lord Yufeng said, "Xiao Yulin is indeed a rare genius who can come out of this small world." That day Qingxuan met Xiaoyu by chance in the small world, and told the old man when he came back that Xiaoyu is a rare talent. I also gave the guide jade pendant to my little friend, so this time the old man can sense it and come to pick him up. Hearing this, Lin Moyu understood. It turned out that Lord Yufeng and Gu Qingxuan were able to come out in time. It was all because of the jade pendant for receiving and guiding. Lin Moyu took out the jade pendant, with a beautiful valley engraved on the front and the word, Xuan, on the back. Yu Pei happened to meet Gu Qingxuan's name. Lin Moyu asked, if the seniors didn't come, what would happen to the juniors? Yifeng Shenjun smiled kindly, it's nothing. You just saw that among those people, there are strong people from our human race. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, other races dare not do anything to you, at most they will show you off and scare you. If it really hits you, it will bring revenge from our human race. It is perfectly normal to destroy a few big stars. Destroy a few big stars. Yifeng Shenjun said it lightly, without a trace of murderous intent. But Lin Moyu felt terrified. He knows that the so-called big stars are stars one after another, and there may be hundreds of millions of creatures living on the stars. The human race takes revenge and destroys the stars at every turn. This kind of revenge is too cruel. Gu Qingxuan said softly, the big world is not like the small world. If you are not cruel enough to others, then they will make more progress, and the damage will only be greater. We can only be peaceful if we beat them to death. Lin Moyu agrees with Gu Qingxuan's words very much, in fact it is true. If you want to survive in a cruel world, you must unite internally and use thunderous tactics externally. Lin Moyu already knew that if Lord Yufeng hadn't come just now, he might have been intimidated, but his life would not be in danger. But why? Yufeng Shenjun came to pick him up. Just because I came from a small world. As Lord Yufeng, even if you want to pick someone up, you don't have to come in person. Could it be because of Gu Qingxuan? Lin Moyu couldn't figure it out for a while. Lord Yufeng saw Lin Moyu's doubts. Little friend can stand out from a small world and become a super god, which is an extremely rare genius. My human race has always valued genius very much. The old man happens to be free and has nothing to do, and this time he is also helping Qingxuan complete the task, so I just took a casual trip. From the words of Yifeng Shenjun, Lin Moyu heard the word mission. Gu Qingxuan has a mission, and to complete the mission is to guide her. Things are a little weird. And why Yifeng Shenjun wanted to isolate himself from the baptism of the law of the great world also puzzled him. There is a colorful stream of light outside the flying boat, and the original starry sky has disappeared. This kind of picture is very similar to the picture at the time of transmission. Yifeng Shenjun's flying boat has the ability similar to the teleportation array. It can quickly shuttle in the subspace, and can reach very distant places in a short time. When I first entered the big world, I directly came into contact with God-level characters. Moreover, this deity, together with his disciples, expressed great kindness towards him. All kinds of situations made Lin Moyu very puzzled, and even felt vigilant in his heart. But think about it, I met Bai Yiyuan not long after I changed jobs. It seems somewhat similar. Gu Qingxuan explained to Lin Moyu along the way, and finally made Lin Moyu gradually understand. Gu Qingxuan really has a mission to guide a genius from the small world. This genius, the higher the talent, the greater the benefits she will get. Perhaps because of fate, Gu Qingxuan met Lin Moyu, and then picked Lin Moyu. In order to ensure the smooth completion of the task, Gu Qingxuan did not hesitate to invite Lord Yufeng to pick Lin Moyu up in person. As for why Yifeng Shenjun made a move to block the baptism of the law of the great world, the reason is actually very simple. Everyone who comes out of the small world will enjoy the baptism of the laws of the big world. In the baptism, the soul can be enhanced, the spell can be enhanced, and the talent can also be enhanced. But often people who have just stepped into the big world are still in a dazed state, and cannot 100% digest the benefits brought by the baptism of the big world. Some benefits may even be wasted. So Yifeng Shenjun pressed the pause button for Lin Moyu's big world baptism with his mighty power. Wait until Lin Moyu fully adapts to the big world before performing the baptism, and the benefits will be even greater. Gu Qingxuan said softly, actually, I have selfish intentions. What I have accepted is a series of missions in the City of God. Whether your talent is good or bad is only the first link of the mission. If you can enter the City of Gods in the future, or even set foot on the path of the gods of the human race, I can get more benefits. She expressed her selfishness generously and naturally. Simply put, the better Lin Moyu will achieve in the future, the more rewards she will get. from her words, revealed two pieces of information. One is the city of gods, and the other is the road of the gods of the human race. These two places sound extraordinary. Lin Moyu asked, Shen Cheng and human race Shen Road, can you tell me about it? He knew nothing about the situation of the human race in the big world, and he mainly listened along the way and rarely spoke. Even when he spoke, he was very humble, and he did not consider himself a genius at all. Those who can stand out from the small world like Lin Moyu are almost all geniuses. Many of them were so arrogant, they looked like they were my second child. In the long life of Yifeng Shenjun, this kind of person has been seen a lot. For Lin Moyu's attitude, Lord Yifeng and Gu Qingxuan both liked it better. Gu Qingxuan spoke slowly, Shencheng is the sacred place of our human race, and the sacred road of human race is the holy place among the holy places. All races want to enter the divine city and climb the sacred road. There is a saying in the human race, people who don't want to enter the city of God are not good people. These words made Lin Moyu smile. He is not a good person, could he still be a bad person? Yifeng Shenjun looked at Lin Moyu and said word by word, you have a chance to enter the city of God. Why? Before Lin Moyu could respond, Gu Qingxuan exclaimed, Master, are you serious? Yifeng Shenjun gave Gu Qingxuan a fond look. As a teacher, when did you miss it? With Xiao Yulin's calmness and talent to stand out from the small world, it is not difficult to enter the city of God. Gu Qingxuan naturally believed her master's words, and looked at Lin Moyu differently. Perhaps the whim at that time could really bring me good benefits. After a while, accompanied by a slight vibration, the flying boat left the subspace. The bright starlight shines again. Lin Moyu saw a huge star, and several equally huge stars were revolving around the star. Gu Qingxuan explained, this is the Suzaku star field that our human race belongs to. What you see is the number 98 galaxy in the Suzaku star field. There are 3 life stars, 6 resource stars, and countless asteroids. Lin Moyu looked at the magnificent galaxy and was secretly surprised. In this galaxy, there are 3 big life stars, and hundreds of millions of people live on each big life star. The size of each big star far exceeds its own small world. At the same time, in order to allow people on the 3 big stars to practice normally, there are also 6 resource stars. 9 large stars revolve around the star, and the star brings light and heat to them. A perfect circle is formed. On such a scale, it is only a galaxy. Let Lin Moyu have a new understanding of the big world. Along the way, Gu Qingxuan briefly talked about the composition of the human world. The human race is one of the strongest races in the big world, with a vast territory. 4 of them are Qinglong, Zhuge, Baihu and Xuanwu. Each star field has a large number of galaxies, and these galaxies are called by numbers. The 4 star domains jointly guard the central God domain. The God City and Human Race God Road that Gu Qingxuan mentioned before are located in the central God realm. However, the City of God is not so easy to enter, and it requires a lot of assessments to enter it. 0. Asking for flowers. The small world where Lin Moyu was originally located is located on the edge of the Suzaku star field, which is the junction of the human territory and the foreign territory. The 98th galaxy in the Suzaku star field is the closest living galaxy to the small world. According to the rules, Lin Moyu's first stop after leaving the small world is here. Even if there is no Lord Yifeng to pick up Lin Moyu, there will be other strong human races who will send Lin Moyu here. The flying boat entered the galaxy and flew towards one of the big life stars. Gu Qingxuan explained, the number of this life star is Suzaku, and it is also where you registered your identity. All the strong people of the human race who came out of the small world must first register and obtain an identity. You have to remember that without identity, you will be unable to move an inch in the human race. Lin Moyu nodded slightly, and wrote down Gu Qing's words. At the same time, he thought of Lillian who had disappeared. I don't know where she went. If she entered the human race without a corresponding identity, would it be difficult for her to move as Gu Qingxuan said? The flying boat landed on Suzaku, but Yifeng Shenjun did not appear, so Gu Qingxuan took Lin Moyu to register. This is also part of the mission, and she will accompany Lin Moyu to do everything. Lin Moyu stepped out of the flying boat and saw a large number of human races. They wear all kinds of clothes, and there is no uniform standard. Although they belong to the same human race, everyone comes from different worlds and has different customs. This difference is in every aspect. Gu Qingxuan said, "Don't be surprised, our human race has the strongest tolerance among all races, no matter from every aspect." Lin Moyu thought for a while, then asked in a low voice, "Are there many people like me?" Gu Qingxuan shook her head. "It's neither too much nor too little. After all, there are as many small worlds as there are cow hairs, and there will always be someone who will show up." Under the leadership of Gu Qingxuan, the two came to the registration office. The landing place is not small in scale, it looks like it is made of bluestone, and it has a simple and old atmosphere. There were hundreds of people lined up in front of the gate, each of them had different clothes, clearly coming from different small worlds. Lin Moyu was a little surprised. Didn't he say not much? This is only one galaxy, there are tens of thousands of galaxies like this in the Suzaku star field. Like the Vermilion Bird starfield, there are 4 of them, so how many do they add up? Gu Qingxuan glanced at the registration office, then closed her eyes for a few seconds, as if sensing something. Then she opened her eyes and said, "It's a coincidence that the login will be open in 2 days. Don't worry, we will meet 5 first."
The registration office is not open all the time, it only opens once every 100 days. The people at the top of the queue have been waiting for hundreds of days. Lin Moyu is considered lucky, as long as 2 days are enough. Lin Moyu also realized that his thinking was wrong. It is not that there are so many people all the time, but so many people are accumulated every 100 days. Thinking about it this way, it's not bad. There are indeed many small worlds, but not every time someone leaves the small world and enters the sky world. It is not so easy to leave the small world. With Ji Qingxuan's explanation, Lin Moyu learned something. In the human world, it can be roughly divided into 2 origins. One is born in the big world. This kind of person has an identity from birth. The other is like him, from the small world. After entering the big world, the first stop is to register. The strong ones in the human race have been arranged outside each small world. As long as someone comes out, someone will go to greet them. 150. In this way, there is also a reward for receiving and leading, and you can get benefits. So there are many people rushing to do this kind of work. Like myself, no one dared to object because Yelin God Venerable made a move. This reward naturally belongs to Ji Yuqing. Lin Moyu also saw that there were people accompanying those who lined up. Those who accompany are those who do the receiving task. There is a very mature system within the human race, which is perfect in every aspect. Thinking about it this way, it is a kind of fate that I can meet Ji Qingxuan in the small world. The queue was very quiet, no one spoke. Many people looked around with curiosity in their eyes. There were also some people meditating on the spot, as if they were cultivating. As long as they can come out of the small world, they are all geniuses. None of them want to waste time. Lin Moyu used to be the same way. Don't waste every minute of time. Seize all the time to improve yourself. In recent years, Lin Moyu has slowed down, making his mood more relaxed and more stable. 2 days passed in a flash, and the door of the registration office slowly opened. All the people who had been waiting for many days cheered up one by one. 100 days is actually not too long for a super god. One practice, one comprehension of the law is more than such a short time. The line moved forward little by little, and the speed of registration was not very fast, and it took almost a whole day to get Lin Moyu's turn. Ji Qingxuan accompanied Lin Moyu into the registration office. The facilities in the registration office are surprisingly simple. Except for a big table, it is a complex and huge formation, and there is nothing else. Behind the table, a person was half lying and half sitting there, exuding a lazy temperament. He looked a little careless, and his appearance was extremely casual, not only in his temperament, but also in his voice, which was full of vigor. But no one in the field dared to underestimate him. This lazy man exuded a powerful aura. Has surpassed the true god. This is a god king, an existence far more powerful than a true god. Ji Qingxuan brought Lin Moyu to the table. Lin Moyu, from the small world number Suzaku. Each small world also has a set of numbers, and the bio** layer is the number of the small world where Lin Moyu lives. For the convenience of management, except for a few important galaxies, most of the galaxies and big stars are represented by numbers. Among them, Suzaku represents the Suzaku star field, 98 represents the 98th galaxy below the Suzaku star field, and the number behind it is the number of the small world. The small world that Lin Moyu came out of is Suzaku star field, small world in Life Galaxy 98. From the number, it can be seen that what Jiyu Qingshan said is correct. There are so many small worlds like this. The staff looked up at Lin Moyu, pointed to the formation next to him, "Go in." Lin Moyu immediately walked to the center of the formation, and the formation was shining and running. Rays of light shone on Lin Moyu's body, and Lin Moyu's whole body was glowing, instantly turning into a big light bulb. Jiyu Qingshan had already talked to Lin Moyu about the effect of the formation, and Lin Moyu remained calm and motionless in the formation. The formation method will detect the identity, whether it is the real blood of the human race. A long time ago, there was an infiltration of alien races. Some alien races pretended to be human races from the small world, and finally entered the human race God City. The alien was doing damage in the City of God, but luckily he was discovered in time and killed. Later, all people who came out of the small world had to pass the formation test. In addition to detecting Lin Moyu's identity, the array will also record all aspects of Lin Moyu's information. 10 minutes later, the radiance of the formation gradually weakened. Lin Moyu stepped out of the formation and returned to the table. At this time, the man took out a piece of crystal the size of a fingernail, and stretched out his finger. The crystal instantly turned into a law and flew into Lin Moyu's eyebrows and disappeared. Lin Moyu only felt a slight tingle in the center of his eyebrows, and then he didn't feel any more. Obviously this law is not malicious, and it did not activate the defense of the bone armor. The man said, "Okay, the identity registration has been completed, and you can enter Renwang's network in 30 minutes. Then he looked at Jiyu Qingshan, "You have to explain to him how to use Renwang network." Jiyu Qingshan saluted respectfully, "This junior understands." Although Jiyu Qingshan's master is a god, but facing the God King, Jiyu Qingshan still maintains due respect. Lin Moyu also bowed to him, "Thank you, senior." He waved his hand casually, "Well, let's go, the next one can come in." Walking outside the registration office, Jiyu Qingshan said, "Okay, now you can move freely in the human world. Now let me tell you about the Renwang network, also known as the Renwang network world, which is a semi-virtual and semi-real world unique to our human race. As long as you are in the human race world, you can connect to the Human Emperor's network, but when you enter the Human Emperor's network, you will continue to consume soul power. However, the consumption is not much, and the super god level can already maintain this consumption for a long time." In Jiyu Qingshan's explanation, Lin Moyu gradually understood the purpose of Renwang network. The human race in the big world is completely different from the human race in the small world. In addition to strength and knowledge, Renwang network is very important. The human sovereign network covers the entire human race world, and one can enter it as long as one consumes some soul power. In the Renwang network, you can comprehend the rules, practice, accept tasks, and view various information and types of data. In addition, Renwang network has many functions, which cannot be explained clearly in a few words, and Lin Moyu needs to explore by himself. Just through Jiyu Qingshan's description, Lin Moyu has already realized that an invisible human emperor network firmly binds the entire human race together. What happens in the Suzaku starfield can be known to the human races in other starfields in the next second. If someone is in danger, they can ask for help in Renwang network. As long as they report their coordinates, someone will rush to them. Even, Renwang network also has positioning capabilities. Even if you can't judge the coordinates, you can roughly locate them. Jiyu Qingshan said, "The Renwang network plays a very important role, and the most important thing is the Renwang points. Renwang points are money, no matter in the Renwang online world or in the real world. No matter what you do, you will consume Renwang points. As for how to earn human sovereign points, once you enter the human sovereign network, you will naturally know, so I won't waste my words. He found that he was in a square. No matter in terms of architecture or scale, this square is exactly the same as the square I am in reality. The breeze is coming slowly, caressing the face. It is exactly the same as the real world. Reaching out, lifting feet, starting, jumping, and flying are exactly the same as in the real world. Even Lin Moyu can feel his own laws, his own strength, and his own spells. Renwang Network, Tianfun is magical. Suddenly a light flashed in front of her eyes, and Jiyu Qingshan appeared in front of her eyes, and she also entered the Renwang Network. Jiyu Qingshan wore a mask on her face, hiding her appearance. But the hairstyle and clothes have not changed. Lin Moyu recognized it at a glance. Jiyu Qingshan took off the mask. In Renwang Network, everyone's image is exactly the same as in reality. However, you can choose not to allow others to view your information, and then change your clothes and wear a mask to hide your identity. Jiyu Qingshan dutifully introduced Renwang Network to Lin Moyu, and Lin Moyu quickly became familiar with Renwang Network. In the Renwang Network, there are places for cultivation, places for comprehension of laws, mission centers, trading centers and so on. All kinds of functions are available. It seems that only you can't think of it, and you can't do it without it. You can send it directly wherever you go, you only need to ask for a thought, which is convenient. It is completely possible to reach other star fields from the Vermilion Bird star field in an instant. The only problem is that everything you do will consume human emperor points. In the real world, it is impossible to move forward without identity information. Then in Renwang Network, if there is no points, it will be difficult to move an inch. Currently, Lin Moyu is still in the novice stage. Every newcomer will have an initial 100 points. 100 points is not much, but it is enough for Lin Moyu to become proficient in Renwang Network. Jiyu Qingshan took Lin Moyu to the practice hall, mission center, trading center, and even the arena. After shopping around, Jiyu Qingshan said, "Okay, let's leave the internet first, and I will take you to a place." With a move in Lin Moyu's heart, he broke away from the network. Renwang Network is very magical and can accomplish most things. But it cannot completely replace reality. Some things can only be done in the real world. Jiyu Qingshan brought Lin Moyu to a teleportation array, and after paying some points, the teleportation was activated. The teleportation array of the big world is much stronger than the teleportation array of the small world. After crossing hundreds of thousands of kilometers in an instant, he took Lin Moyu directly away from the big star and appeared in the Minister of the Starry Sky. If the teleportation array of the small world is used, it will take a long time to teleport for hundreds of thousands of kilometers. In the starry sky, very close to the stars, there is a huge palace floating. The grandeur of this palace has never been seen by Lin Moyu. The height of the palace exceeds 10,000 meters, and the width is at least 100,000 meters, like a fortress entrenched in the starry sky. The majestic momentum rushed over, even making Lin Moyu feel suffocated. In front of the palace, 5 huge characters of light shine brightly in the starry sky. Human Temple of War. The 5 big characters exude a majestic atmosphere. Lin Moyu looked at it instinctively, only to feel that the 5 big characters were enlarged in front of his eyes in an instant, and turned into a big palm and slapped straight down. The big palm turned into a soul attack, entered the soul world, and slapped heavily on Lin Moyu's soul world. The soul world roared loudly, and the soul world that had reached the peak of the 3rd rank was shining brightly, standing still. The half-glass and half-crystal shell blocked the slapping of the giant palm. Lin Moyu felt that the giant soul palm was not malicious. If you can't resist it, you won't hurt your soul, the most you can do is shake your soul. The result is that the head is dizzy, and it will not have a big impact. But for himself, the giant soul palm has no effect. After the attack of the giant soul palm was ineffective, it turned into countless runes and appeared outside the soul world. Lin Moyu could feel that these runes contained some kind of law, and immediately began to comprehend it. He didn't notice at all that Jiyu Qingshan beside her was smiling, as if she was watching a play. She knew exactly what was going to happen next. All those who come to the Terran God of War temple for the first time will be disowned by these 5 characters. The soul attack contained in the 5 big characters can only be blocked by at least the soul state of the peak of the 2nd rank. But generally speaking, most people who have just left the small world only have the strength of the 1st or 2nd level of super gods, and at most they will not exceed the 4th level. The quality of the soul is at the level of the peak of the 1st rank, so it will definitely be affected. It's unavoidable to make a little ugliness, but it's nothing. It will make them more honest, and polish the arrogance twisted by the small world. But what happened next left her stunned. Lin Moyu looked at the 5 big characters motionless as if nothing happened. He didn't even blink his eyes, but watched with gusto. Ji Qingshan was stunned. What is going on? Could it be that his soul quality is very high? Impossible. At least the soul of the peak of the 2nd rank will not be affected. No matter how you look at it, Lin Moyu is only the 1st level of super god. In her consciousness, no matter how high the quality of the soul is, how high can it be? Perhaps Lin Moyu's strength is not weak, and even the soul level exceeds the level, but the improvement of the soul quality is not so easy. In Ji Qingshan's astonishment, another person came out from the side teleportation formation. All of them were super gods registered in the same batch as Lin Moyu. They are all super gods registered in the same group as Lin Moyu, and just like Lin Moyu, they just came out of the small world. After registering, I got acquainted with Renwang Network, and came here under the guidance of their respective guides. The human race God of War temple is the last step of the receiving mission, and everyone must come here for a walk. These people, like Lin Moyu, instinctively looked at the 5 characters of Human Temple of War. In an instant, everyone snorted and backed up one after another. Some people even fell to the ground on the spot. These people showed expressions of horror, and their faces turned pale, obviously not feeling well. Their guides were all smiling, and had long expected such a scene to happen. Seeing their reactions like this, Ji Qingshan felt that this was normal. No matter how you look at it, the guy the first brought with me is not normal. At this time, the other guides also found Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu, who was obviously a newcomer, actually stared at the 5 characters of Human Temple of War with great interest. It's a lie. How could this be the case? It's not just that they don't believe it, it's not that Ji Qingshan doesn't believe it either. But that's how it happened. No one woke up Lin Moyu, and when someone wanted to ask, they were stopped directly by their guides. The big world has the rules of the big world. Interrupting the comprehension of others is a life and death enmity. Lin Moyu is clearly comprehending something now and cannot be affected. Ji Qingshan could only wait patiently. After a while, Lin Moyu still showed no signs of waking up. Those guides brought their newcomers into the human race temple of war. Not long after, another group of newcomers arrived, and the scene just now was repeated again. At this time, Ji Qingshan has switched from the shock mode to the drama watching mode, and what she is watching is someone else's drama. As newcomers continued to arrive, this scene continued to repeat itself. People came in batches and batches left, and Ji Qingshan was the only one who couldn't go anywhere with Lin Moyu. Unless she gives up the mission, otherwise Lin Moyu can't lose it if she doesn't wake up. Ji Qingshan was a little bit dumbfounded. After 2 full days, Ji Qingshan began to panic. She didn't know what happened to Lin Moyu, whether this state was normal or not. She could only turn to Lord Yefeng for help.